Retailers are now warning the American people that we could see empty shelves by this summer. Now, today I want to break down what's happening, but we also have some very big tariff news coming out of China and the United States, even coming from the U.S. Treasury Secretary. So I want to break down what he said, what this means moving forward, and why some retailers are hoping that this deal will eventually go through. So I'm going to break all this down, give you some timelines, explain what's happening, and how you will likely be impacted here in the very near future. But before I do ask one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So first off, why are U.S. retailers warning their customers that we could see empty shelves by this summer? Well, it's because of all the increases in tariffs that the United States is putting on a country like China and other countries as well. What we continue to hear is that President Trump is going to continue to push tariffs higher and higher if countries are trying to retaliate against the United States. Well, here's what's also happening. Look at this. It says U.S. Treasury Secretary says trade war with China is not sustainable, and neither side believes it is. I want to read a little bit of this to you, but first, look at this one. This is an article from CNBC. It says, Scott Bessent says he expects de-escalation in U.S.-China tariff fight in the very near future. Now, I want to explain what's going on here, but in order to do that, we need to read the article. Look at this right here. It says right here, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told investors in a closed-door meeting Tuesday he expects there will be a de-escalation in President Donald Trump's trade war with China in the very near future. Says, the next steps with China are, no one thinks the current status quo is sustainable, and it's not. It doesn't matter if it's coming from the United States or from China, it's not sustainable. Says stocks already recovering from the prior day's sell-off soared higher after Bessent's remarks were first reported. It says, Bessent said he believes that the prospect of de-escalation between the economic superpowers should give the world, the markets, a sigh of relief. It says, both sides, we have to agree now. Okay. Now, here's where things are getting very interesting. Okay, I want to read a little bit more of this to you, but here's what you need to understand. Scott Bessent, or actually President Donald Trump, has said that negotiations are underway. Well, according to Scott Bessent, he says no. Negotiations haven't even actually started. They're pretty much getting into position, and then they'll start the negotiations. That's kind of where we're at now. Well, according to Christine Lagarde, she said she expects negotiations could take at least 90 days from once they're started. So think about it. We are currently, it's April 22nd. So we got May 22nd. So May, June, July, 3 months. So by the end of July, that's when we could see this whole thing get fixed and resolved. That's a concern because, again, that pushes us 3 months out. That puts us pretty much to the middle of the summer. Let's keep reading this, though. It says, Bessent also insisted, despite the U.S. ratcheting up tariffs on Chinese imports to 145% and China retaliating to 125% duties on American goods, the goal of Trump's policy isn't to decouple. Okay? Goes on to say, neither side thinks the status quo is sustainable. Now, I want to read this to you right here. It says, later Tuesday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt echoed Bessent's positive outlook towards talks with China, though neither official suggested that those negotiations have actually begun. That's the concern, is that these are going to take like 90 days. The problem is we haven't started the negotiations. Goes on to say, Leavitt said in a press briefing that Trump wants people to know that we are doing very well in respect to potential trade deal with China. Trump is setting the stage for a deal with China, she said, and the ball is moving in the right direction. Asked if Trump has spoken directly to Chinese President Xi Jinping, Caroline Leavitt said she had nothing to share. Okay, so what does this mean moving forward? Well, here's what it means. We are expecting that tariffs are going to de-escalate. But when? That's the big question. Nobody knows. What we do know is that China just yesterday, China threatened every other country that do not get on the United States' side, because if any other country jumps on our side going against China, guess what China's going to do? They're not going to sell goods to them. They are just going to stop selling to them. That's going to be a problem for them. But I bring this up because many U.S. retailers are already expecting we are going to see empty shelves by this summer. There are certain retailers that are already seeing slowdowns, that they don't want to go and buy the products that they somewhat purchased or halfway purchased, because now they still have to pay the tariff on top of it. It is turning into a massive issue. But again, the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because, according to the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, this trade war is not sustainable. And it isn't. Which economy is going to crumble first? We've already seen signs that China is struggling. We've already seen signs that the United States is struggling. It's just a matter of time. So I will leave you with that, but just understand this is going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. So even though we are seeing some positive signs here and there, there's still more negative. And the fact that Christine Lagarde believes this is something that's going to take 3 months just to figure out, well, that should make many people here in the United States very skeptical leading into the summer. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.